So there are two things I want to point out. Your setup and this takeaway position look great. Here at arms parallel, you can see your club is pointed very much like towards the camera. This is easier to see from a face-on angle, like if you put the camera there. So I just want to show you really quick. Here's Justin Rose from face-on, and you'll see that when his left arm is parallel to the ground, pretty much the same position that you're in up there, you see that the club is pointed pretty much straight up. It's not up like this way, if you were to see it from behind, but it's up as far as like from the face-on view. Let me show you somebody else. Okay, so I found Collin Morikawa specifically because his isn't as vertical. You see there at arms parallel, he has a little bit of angle, right? And that's okay. Like a lot of pro players and high-level players will have, you know, not necessarily straight up, but a little bit away from them. But generally speaking, at this point in the swing, they're similar to where you are. And in this moment, from this moment to this moment, they're starting to set their wrists. That's called setting your wrists. So you don't want to do it too early because then you have a very floppy kind of takeaway. You want to set them between here and there. And so yours, there your swing looks good. And then from there to there, you want to start setting that wrist. And what that's generally going to do is just add a little more wrist action to the swing itself, which actually will get you a lot more speed. It's kind of like a whipping motion. Now, you don't want to be too whippy with the golf swing in general, but you don't have enough of it. So you end up actually here at the very last bit of your swing, you kind of add a little more wrist. But you'll see that they are just, as the club gets there, they just have way more wrist than you, and that's just more wrist to unload on the way down. So I would look up different drills for setting your wrists, but specifically, I wouldn't want you to set it too much here. You want to start setting it as you go up. And it doesn't need to be exactly like these pros either. I'm sure I could find some that have a little less set, but that would be my first thing. Second thing is that as you get to the top of your backswing, like right there looks good, and I want you to see, just look right here. Look how the club head just starts to drift to the right, right? And then you do your downswing. Like that motion is not common amongst high-level players, and I'm not exactly sure why you're doing it, but what it causes is here, I'll go back to this position where the club like points at the ball, and this angle and everything is good. Generally you want to point it at the ball, but a little in front, a little behind is okay. And then as you come down, because you moved your wrist like that, you can see now the club is coming way more steep. And so you do have a little bit of early extension. If you don't know what that is, there's your butt, and your butt is kind of coming off the line on the way down. See there? And so it's probably all related. You can look up early extension drills. There's a lot of people suffer from it, including myself. But it's, you know, you're just having this more downward swing. So I don't know what's the root cause, but generally when you go up this way, you want to also come down this way, or even a little bit below that line. And so if you set your wrist earlier, your backswing might be like finished by the time you get to like here. Another thing is this elbow here is going pretty far from your body. It's not terrible, but let me compare you again. Like I already have Collin Morikawa loaded up here, so I'll just show you from that same angle. You see he has a pretty high arm, left arm, like usually neutral will be like there, covering the shoulder. His is high, and still his angle with his elbow is smaller than yours, like this. It's like closer to, his armpit is a little more closed, if that makes sense. Like your elbow is way more out and less tucked in. Some people will do drills where they put like a head cover or something under their armpit during the backswing. But generally speaking, that would keep the swing coming more this way versus that way, right? Imagine if you drop that elbow down, everything would kind of just go more that way. So I wouldn't know exactly where to start with it. Maybe it's just consciously thinking about not putting the club kind of this way and keeping it more behind you. At this point, you're probably already thinking about the downswing, so maybe if you're consciously thinking about swinging the club more around this way, like kind of trying to hit a hook, maybe that will you naturally won't do this movement at the top. You know, maybe it has to do with keeping that elbow a little more down. You don't want it to be too tucked in, but too tucked in, if you feel like it's too tucked in, it's probably actually okay because you're used to something more open. But you're not like a terrible over the top swing. Like that's your backswing and your downswing is kind of like this, right? You see players who have like this and then they go like that, right? Yours is much more subtle, but it is just something unorthodox I noticed, this kind of motion of the club head going that way at the top of your backswing. So I'm not exactly sure how to fix that, but I would just be aware of it and think about the various ways that it affects it. And even setting your wrists a little earlier here, like I talked about, that might affect all of this as well.